What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for the New Year's Revolution edition on January 5th, 2024, the first show of the year for the Blue brand. I am Graham Jason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far. A great show, I thought, from SmackDown on Friday night, kind of capping off what was a very good week, I thought, for WWE and AEW on the whole. Wasn't a big fan of New Year's Evil on Tuesday from NXT. I thought it was a solid show, but I really enjoyed Day 1 Raw on Monday. Thought Dynamite was great on Wednesday. SmackDown capping off the week for WWE and AEW with a great show on Friday night. I mean, I guess there's also Collision tonight, which I'll probably talk about tomorrow here on the channel. The jury is still out going forward if I'm going to be reviewing Collision going forward on a weekly basis. I haven't in recent weeks just due to the holidays and whatever, but Collision really hasn't been overly eventful beyond the Continental Classic stuff for a while, so not exactly sure if I'll be reviewing that going forward weekly. But as far as SmackDown goes, these reviews aren't going anywhere. This was a great show on Friday night. I love the fact, first of all, that they brought back the New Year's Revolution name for the first time since 2007. I remember being so bothered back in 2021 that when they announced they were doing a pay-per-view on New Year's Day and they were calling it Day 1. They did that on Monday night. They brought back Day 1 for the first time and only time since 2022 on Monday night. But they called that pay-per-view 2 years ago Day 1, and I thought it was a missed opportunity to call it the New Year's Revolution pay-per-view. They did it from 05, 06, 07. And that's just coming from someone who remembers I didn't even grow up on that pay-per-view. I wasn't watching WWE at the time. But I thought it was a great concept to do in early January. And they brought it back here, which I thought was cool. It ended up being a very special show. Great opener. Very good match in the middle from the women. Great main event. Some debuts, returns, and a lot of other stuff. More announced for the Royal Rumble. A return as well from AOP. Them finally making the return to WWE TV. So some really good stuff here on this show, I thought. Opening up the episode were the finals of the United States Championship #1 Contenders Tournament. Kevin Owens taking on Santos Escobar. Logan Paul also appearing on the episode in person for the first time in a couple of weeks, I think. Good match here. I think Owens winning was never really in doubt, but I thought they went in there, got plenty of time, had a really good match. Escobar losing clean, which was kind of surprising. I figured we might see the return of Rey Mysterio, costing Escobar the win, or even Carlito. The last time we saw Carlito on WWE TV, beyond NXT on Tuesday, was him getting attacked and ambushed by Santos a number of weeks ago before Survivor Series, which caused that match to be changed to Santos and Dragon Lee. We have not seen Carlito on SmackDown since. He resurfaced on Tuesday's NXT as a replacement for Dragon Lee, speaking of whom, in that six-man tag team match on Tuesday night. He was not on this show. So I'm not really sure why Carlito would go back to NXT and not SmackDown first to exact revenge on Santos. That might still be coming. Maybe we get Santos and Carlito at the Royal Rumble instead of at Survivor Series. Who knows? But I thought this was a very good match. Owens advances to the Royal Rumble to challenge Logan Paul for the United States Championship. They went back and forth briefly on the mic after the match, Logan Paul pretty much doing all the talking, and then Owens laying him out before Logan Paul could finish what he was saying. So, kind of planting the seeds for Owens maybe beating Paul for the championship at the pay-per-view, which will not happen. I like Owens, but it should not happen. At WrestleMania, in my opinion, it should be Logan Paul defending and losing that United States Championship to LA Knight. But I thought this was a good way to set up that Royal Rumble match between the two, and a good way to kick off the show. We then had Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits in the ring kind of talking about what's in store for them in 2024. Bobby Lashley making it official that he's entering the men's Royal Rumble match in a couple of weeks. Not winning, obviously, but he will be entering that matchup. All of a sudden, the lights go out. And at that point, you kind of knew where this was going. Karrion Kross, AOP emerging, laying out the Profits and Bobby. So this accomplished a lot. A lot going on in this segment. Karrion Kross was out there with both Scarlett, who is now sporting a brunette hairstyle, and no longer blonde for the first time since I can remember. And also Paul Ellering. Paul Ellering was also by Karrion Kross's side. Now, we've not seen Paul Ellering on WWE TV in over almost 5 years. I think he was called up with them initially to the Raw roster when AOP made their Raw debut back in 2018. Paul Ellering was with them on that first show, and I think they ditched him on that same show or a week later. So he didn't really accompany them on the main roster beyond that point, which I thought was a mistake. They put them with Rollins later on, which worked up until they got hurt, and they got hurt a lot during their run on the main roster, it felt like. They were with him for a while. They were with Drake fucking Maverick, which was an awful pairing back in late 2018, early 2019. That didn't really go anywhere. So they're back with Ellering and Kross and Scarlett for a fresh pairing of those 6, I guess, or 5. I think it's AOP, Kross, Ellering, and Scarlett, so 5. This was teased in their vignettes a couple of weeks ago. The rumblings were that they would be paired together and debuting on this show. They did just that. This also managed to accomplish in cementing Lashley and the Profits as babyfaces, because it kind of felt like up until this point, they were parading around as heels, but they were really babyfaces. I mean, these crowds, the Profits are likable. They're very likable. Bobby Lashley, for whatever reason, people have taken to Bobby in the last couple of years more than almost anyone else in the roster, in the sense where he's a great heel. He's actually better as a heel. But people just refuse to boo Bobby Lashley. He's just a great babyface. He's just so fucking likable. So they kind of had to put them back in the babyface role, and I think it's a perfect pairing for them to be in the ring with Kross and AOP. Now, I don't know how the matches are going to go, necessarily. The matches may not be any good. Kross and Bobby did not have the most exciting affair on SmackDown about a month ago when I was there on the Tribute to the Troop show. But I thought this was a good segment to kick off that program here between the two trios. WWE has a lot of factions and a lot of trios, and I'm not a big, stable, heavy show person. I don't like when AEW does it. I'm not a big fan of New Japan doing it. WWE is no different, but what I like about this pairing, and I really haven't talked about the possibility of it, I don't think, here on the show, and maybe I did a couple of weeks ago and I don't remember, but I really like the idea of Kross being with AOP, because it gets AOP back in something meaningful right out of the gate, and they're not just on the show kind of squashing other teams and enhancement teams. They could have done that. Apparently, they've been signed with WWE. They were brought back a long time ago, maybe even well over a year ago, which is kind of crazy. They've been under contract with the company for a long time. They were just waiting for the right role and the right time to bring them back. We saw that here, the pairing with Kross. And as for Kross, he's a guy where I think he has all the talent in the world. He's not the most exciting guy in the ring, I don't think, but he's got great mic skills, a great look, and I think there is untapped potential there. Now, everything they've put him in since he came back to the company a year and a half ago, he has lost. I mean, he's won his fair share of matches on SmackDown, but when it comes to his feuds with Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, he never wins whenever it matters most. He'll win a few meaningless matches here and there against friggin' Carl Anderson or Riddick Moss, who isn't even in the company anymore, and people like that, but he won't win when it matters most. And maybe he loses to Bobby in the rematch. I don't know. But he lost to AJ Styles 3 times straight over the summer, which didn't really accomplish anything. AJ was off TV anyway after that, not because of Kross, but because of the bloodline. Kross gained nothing from that feud whatsoever, and neither did really AJ Styles for that matter either. What I'm saying is, Bobby and the Profits are over enough where I hope that Kross and AOP working with them will get them over as well. Establish them as the threat on the show, as a heel act. I like it. I'm curious to see where it goes, and I like it, the idea of these two trios feuding, because it gives them something to do in the meantime before the Royal Rumble. Maybe Kross and Bobby interact in the Rumble. I think Bobby may have even thrown out Kross in the Rumble last year. Kross did not last very long in the Rumble. It was a very underwhelming run for him in the Rumble last year, so hopefully he can kind of redeem himself with a better showing in this year's Rumble. But I thought this was a good segment, though. We had the WWE Women's Championship on the line between IYO SKY and Michin here. Very good match. Michin is great. I think Mia Yim is a very talented performer. We don't really see enough of that on WWE TV. We kind of did during her previous run when she was in NXT, but in the main roster so far, she's really just been an ally of the OC, which is fine, but she doesn't really have a lot of matches, and when she does, she's in there either getting squashed or in a tag team match. But she was allowed to go in there here and showcase her skills against a very talented performer as well in IYO SKY. They've had their handful of matches before, fair share of matches before in NXT, maybe even on the main roster. But here, though, they were able to go in there, have a competitive match. Michin was made to look credible in defeat and have a really good showing, and they got the crowd into the action as well. And I said this on hashtag, I think either this week or last week. I think IYO's had a great run so far as the WWE Women's Champion. I think all roads lead to her and Bayley at WrestleMania, which I'm looking forward to. But the matches that she has had during this title reign since SummerSlam with Zelina Vega, Charlotte, not so much Shotzi. I don't know if we've seen IYO and Shotzi in that time, but we have seen IYO and Zelina, IYO and Charlotte, IYO and Bianca, IYO and Asuka, and now IYO and Michin. She's had some terrific matches along the way, and I hope it continues heading on into WrestleMania. You could have easily done this match at the Royal Rumble, but maybe they already have other matches slated for that show between the two Rumble matches, the Roman match, Rollins versus someone, Owens versus Logan Paul. So they probably already have a pretty solid slate as it is, where you don't need to do IYO and Michin. They might do Rhea versus someone else, I'm not sure, but I thought this was a very good match, though. We then saw Pretty Deadly take on the duo of Butch and Tyler Bate, making his main roster debut. It was Butch and a mystery partner, Ridge Holland is currently doing his thing in NXT. It could have very well been Sheamus. He's been out injured for about 5 months now since that Edge match. I mean, Sheamus has been gone. He's been out injured long enough where Edge wrestled his final match on that show, beat Sheamus in a very good match, and then Edge subsequently went to AEW and has since had 2 matches with Christian, all in the time that Sheamus has been gone. He's missed a lot, specifically from AEW, but WWE as well. I don't know when he's due back. They might be saving him for the Royal Rumble. I'm not sure. But I thought this was a great spot for Tyler Bate, not just because, they didn't really know who he was in the arena, but for a few different reasons. One, it brought him on in with something to do of note right off the bat, a lot like AOP. And it looks like Bate and Butch might be a tag team going forward, but specifically Butch. It wasn't like Tyler Bate was teaming with Cameron Grimes, who we saw resurface backstage. He's facing Grayson Waller, again, next week on the show. I like Cameron Grimes. I'm glad he's resurfacing, but I need to know that they're doing something of note with the guy, and he's not just back to lose, which it looks like he probably will, but whatever. But no, he was in a tag team match here with someone that's on the show every single week in Butch. They have history for those that followed NXT UK and NXT as British Strong Style. They teamed just recently in NXT, actually a couple of months ago, with Ridge Holland in a 6-man tag team match against Gallus. But I thought this was a very good match, fun match. Bate and Butch going over, getting to showcase their skills, show what they're capable of. Bate is on the smaller side. I don't see him becoming world champion in the main roster by any stretch, but the guy is very good in the ring. And if they give him a chance to really shine, and this can be really said for anyone on the show, on either roster, on any of the WWE rosters, but if they give an opportunity to shine, if they give him an opportunity to go out there and really show what he can do, I think he can get over at a meaningful level. He's that good, and he has been for a long time. I mean, the fact that he was sitting in WWE developmental for almost 7 years between NXT UK and NXT, to me is egregious, but better late than never. We'll see how he fares on SmackDown. And based on what they said on SmackDown Lowdown review coming up a little bit later on, it sounds like they might be a team going forward. They replaced Ridge Holland with Tyler Bate. So ultimately, I want to see Butch back as Pete Dunne on his own as a heel. Maybe we can still see that at some point. I'm not sure. Maybe this is just a temporary thing, but I like bringing in Bate as a partner for Butch in the meantime, giving him something to do, and they beat an established team in Pretty Deadly. So I liked the match. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a great debut for Tyler Bate, who, if you're not overly familiar with him, give him a chance and hopefully he can win you over. Now, before the main event, we had a lot of backstage segments on the show. Paul Heyman addressing all of Roman's challengers between Orton, AJ, and Knight, as well as Rock and CM Punk and Cody Rhodes and everyone gunning for the Tribal Chief right now, including people not even on SmackDown, like I mentioned. Punk, Cody, Rock, not signed to SmackDown, but they all have their eyes set on Roman Reigns. Poor Seth Rollins, by the way. He's the fucking World Heavyweight Champion, and he has no one waiting in his wings, seemingly, to challenge him. I know we have Punk and Rollins, but Punk also mentioned Roman Reigns in that promo on SmackDown about a month ago. But anyway, Heyman addressing those challengers. It was kind of a simple promo. We also had another backstage segment where Nick Aldis was backstage, and I've loved the way they've portrayed Nick Aldis as a, just kind of a headstrong, not taking any no-nonsense GM on SmackDown. I think that's been great. He was encountered in his office by Ashante the Adonis, who said he was waiting for something new, waiting for an opportunity, and he was discussing some ideas with Nick Aldis, who said he had some ideas of his own. So I like this. We got to see Adonis in a dark match, actually. When I say we, I mean me, literally, personally, when he went to SmackDown a month ago. We got to see him in a dark match. I forgot who he teamed with. I think he was Cedric Alexander. And they had a match against Pretty Deadly, pretty basic match. But it was more about the fact that he actually is a veteran. He has military experience, and he served at one point, and he had that connection with the crowd, and he got over in the match because of that. Now, he's very talented as well, not as talented as other people on SmackDown, or as Tyler Bate or Grimes or people like that, but, they didn't fire him. They put B-Fab with the Bobby and Profits group based on a WWE exclusive video I saw earlier today. I know they were teasing that on SmackDown weeks ago. No real follow-up until they put that video out last night after SmackDown was over on WWE.com and on their socials. But Ashante, he deserves a shot as well, so I'm curious to see where that goes. The main event itself, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight triple threat match that determined Roman Reigns' challenger to the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship, that's a fucking mouthful, at the Royal Rumble later this month. Great match here. I thought Orton was winning. We were getting Orton and Roman at the Royal Rumble. Styles and Knight would focus on themselves, kind of branch off in their own feud with each other. We did not get that. We had Roman crashing the match, as well as the rest of the Bloodline. Paul Heyman was out there, Solo, Jimmy, all getting involved and attacking these three men. when the referee wasn't looking, no definitive finish. Nick Aldis was at ringside during the main event. He said to Paul Heyman, the crowd did not hear this, but he said to Paul Heyman, tell Roman Reigns congratulations. He just earned himself a fatal 4-way match at the Royal Rumble against these 3 competitors. So it was honestly the finish I was kind of hoping they would go for. The execution was lazy because we see this in WWE specifically constantly, where it's like a singles match or a triple threat, whatever it might be. The champion runs in, attacks all of them, and is of the mindset, oh, because I attacked my potential challengers, I have no opponent for this upcoming pay-per-view, which is literally never been the case in any of these companies. To my knowledge, I don't think we've ever seen a situation where a champion has gotten involved and was then rewarded by not having to defend their championship. That has literally never happened to my knowledge. So, of course, Nick Aldis made the Fatal 4-Way match official. And that's the match I want to see, but it does make Roman look dumb for doing that. He could have just faced Orton or AJ or Knight one-on-one. Probably Randy Orton, which would have been better than a Fatal 4-Way, where I guess he would also have the advantage by, he doesn't really have to be involved in a majority of the match. He can come around at the end, pick up the pinfall, as he has done in the past in other multi-man matches he's been involved in. I kind of feared that might be the case. But I do love the idea of a Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble, because I think it's something we've never seen with Roman during this run of him. At least we've seen 2 triple threat matches involving Roman Reigns where the championship was on the line. He's been involved in like tag team matches. I'm talking like fucking title matches, more than just singles. One was when he won the championship at Payback 2020 against Bray and Braun. He actually pinned Braun to win the championship, although Bray was the champion, and Bray never got his rematch. That was when he won the championship. The only defense where he's defended the championship in a multi-man match was at Mania 37 against Edge and Daniel Bryan, and he actually pinned both men. I don't think he's pinning all 3 men here. That'd be pretty dumb. But he did defend the championship in a triple threat at Mania, and that was it, and that was almost 3 years ago. We have not seen him have a triple threat, a Fatal 4-Way, 5-pack challenge, 6-pack challenge since then. So this does feel fresh, and especially if we're getting Roman and probably The Rock at Elimination Chamber, rather, then it makes sense to get all these 3 guys out of the way now. We already saw Roman and LA Knight one-on-one. We have not seen, during this run anyway, Roman and AJ one-on-one, or Roman and Randy one-on-one. We have seen those matches before, but not during this run. But at least they can get their opportunity at the show. They can lose. LA Knight's probably eating the pinfall loss, unfortunately. And we can move on into Elimination Chamber, where he hopefully faces The Rock, because I don't think they should do that match in Mania. I sure as hell do not want to see Randy Orton become champion on this show, and then have Roman Reigns going to face The Rock in Mania in a non-title match. Which, that match does not need the championship, obviously, but I think the match to do is Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Even if Roman were to get pinned by Orton at the Rumble, I still think they'd be fucking lazy. Roman should lose the championship by doing the honors in a singles match against someone who can benefit. Orton would not benefit. He would become a 15-time world champion. Cool. I like Orton. He's over. He's hot right now. That's awesome. He has nothing to benefit from beating Roman Reigns for that championship. He has been on this run now for almost 4 fucking years. I know you can also make the argument, oh, Cody's over as well. He doesn't really benefit either. He's also never been world champion before. Orton has held that championship 15 times, 14 times already. He does not need to be beating Roman Reigns. I don't even want to see LA Knight or AJ Styles winning the championship on that show. To me, it's got to be Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was made to look like a bitch by losing to Roman last year. How do you not do the rematch and have Cody beat Roman? If you wanted to avoid this issue, he could have just beaten Roman last year. I say that all the time, but it's true. They didn't do that. They made their bed. Now they got to lie in it by having Cody beat Roman in a rematch at WrestleMania. No other situation to me makes as much sense. But I am looking forward to the Fatal 4-Way, though. That should be a great matchup. And we'll see what they got in mind going forward, heading into the Royal Rumble pay-per-view with other matches they add to the show, the Rumble matches themselves. I thought this was a great way to close the show. The non-finish was lazy, but I am excited by the 4-Way, the idea of a Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble involving those 4 men. And we'll see what they got, what they have planned for that matchup. But I thought this was a thumbs-up edition of the New Year's Revolution edition of Friday Night SmackDown for January 5th, 2024. They already advertised 3 different matches for next week's show. Forgot what they were, honestly. I know Cameron Grimes and Grayson Waller was one of them. Bianca Belair and Bayley for the first time ever. I'm kidding. For like the upteenth time. Next week on the show. And I forgot what else they advertised. I don't remember. There were those 2 matches and then something else. But yeah, we'll see. But SmackDown, I thought, was a success on Friday night, kicking off the new year on a high note. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.